Hi there, it's Pam again, and I have my little Live, Love, Teach mug that one of my students bought me, and a cup of tea. I've had some coffee already this morning, and just felt like a cup of tea. Also have my Christmas cactus plant, or whatever it's called, is blooming. So I was excited about that. I thought I'd show it off a little bit. Today I wanted to talk about boundaries with ourselves. Boundaries with ourselves. I remember when I first read Henry Cloud and John Townsend's book, the Boundaries book, that many people know about, especially in the Christian world. I was surprised that there was a chapter on boundaries with self. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that that was one of the most important chapters. And even though I read that a long time ago, I'm still learning the lessons. And lately I've been noticing some ways that I have changed and that I have set some limits. I've learned to say no to myself. And sometimes that affects other people and involves other people, but a lot of times it's, just kind of knowing what my limits are. And it's still a journey. I'm still not there. But I wanted to just talk about it a bit and see what you thought too about boundaries and how sometimes they're really difficult to have with ourselves. So I jotted down a few notes again. I'm changed in some good ways. When I was young and trying to make friends, I genuinely thought that the best way, the only way really to make friends and keep them was to basically serve them, to do whatever they wanted to do. And I really had no inner voice or opinion on things. And when I think back to it, I just shake my head. And I don't think this was at the very start, but as time went on, when I say very start, I think when I first, entered school and in that I still had a bit of my own voice, but I quickly lost that and just thought it was a good friend would always do what the other person wanted, would try to make their life as easy as possible. And a lot of that was reinforced by this Jesus, others, you acronym for joy. And before you get mad at me about that, I think that teaching was well meant, and maybe there's parts of it that are true, but in my mind, and I know in a lot of other Christian, especially Christian women, that idea sort of threw them for a loop where they just put themselves last all the time and always felt like if they put themselves last, they were being a good Christian woman, right? Or girl. So in my case, I thought not only was it the right thing to do, but it was the godly thing to do, was to put myself just absolute dead last in trying to keep friends. I left my personality, ideas, opinions, and preferences way back at the starting line of my life. And I traveled without them for so long that I actually forgot they existed. My husband could tell you, and my kids could tell you, and my parents, my siblings, people close to me in my life could tell you that I do have strong opinions. But somehow I just left my entire personality and became kind of a clone, or I don't know what you call it. So I've changed. Years ago, I had zero boundaries with friends. Today, I choose more wisely who gets my time, energy, and affection. And I realized even just, on Facebook and other things like that, I realized I was constantly trying to promote and like and share and help others in my life. And I realized after a while, like, those people haven't commented on anything I've sent, really, right? Or anyway, maybe they just don't see my stuff. But I suddenly realized, like, why am I trying to, make sure that this person always feels validated? And not that it's supposed to be like one for one at all, but I just kind of thought, why am I spending so much energy? And there's just nothing coming back the other way, and kind of gave me pause, right? So with friends, that's kind of a limit on myself, right? I guess, and on friends, but just not having zero boundaries anymore, but having some limits. And also years ago with Christian adults in my life, Sunday school teachers, pastors, teachers at school, because I went to a Christian school, and other adults in my life, I would try so hard to please them, and really it became like a habit, because you validated so much by those proverbial pats on the back. Even when I was exhausted or sick or just even unable to do something, I would make it happen. And that was a hard one, right? Because again, in my mind, I was like, the right thing, the good Christian thing to do is always obey the elders in your life. And partly that's true, but it was really tough to break that habit. For example, I had a wonderful piano teacher, and he and I were friends. He was a lot older, obviously, and married and had kids, but we spent so much time together doing piano lessons, theory lessons. I took voice lessons with his wife, and at the school, at the church, we had a lot of music going on. He led, choirs and musicals and things. And so the one morning I was about 15, maybe 16, and I'd walked into church a bit late with my family, and I was really sick. I shouldn't have even been there. I had a very bad cold, but we always went to church no matter what, right? You had to be near dead, to miss church. So we walked in, and my piano teacher went running up to me and said, "You have to do the music this morning, Pam. My wife is sick, and we have to leave." And so he just kind of handed me a hymn book, and I was just standing there, and the church was silent, and the pastor didn't say anything either. Nobody's stood up and tried to help. And I get it, we were all maybe deer in the headlights, right? But I kind of stumbled up to the front, went behind this great big pulpit that I could barely see over, and there was no one to play the piano, and I couldn't play the piano and lead at that time. I didn't have the skill level, and I didn't have a microphone and all that. So I just stood up there. I remember just turning to something in the hymn book, and the first one that I kind of recognized that we could sing, I said, please stand and turn in your hymn books to number something, and let's try and sing together. Well, with having the bad cold, I couldn't sing strongly either. So it was just a nightmare. It was such a nightmare. And looking back on kind of how traumatic that Sunday morning was and that event, I realized that because I didn't have any boundaries, I didn't even think for 1 second about saying no, which is what I should have done. The adults in the room should have figured something out, not put it on a teenager to struggle through. But hey, that's my story. I could go on about that for a whole video, but I won't. And then learning to say no to myself in other ways, like I don't jump to meet every need expressed. Kind of like, on that Sunday morning, right? There was a need. Someone needed to lead the music, but it didn't have to be me. I don't jump when anybody says, oh, they kind of hint that they might need a babysitter, or they hint that something should be done, and I don't jump to everything that needs to be done. I realize that I have a certain capacity, and I let others do it, and I realize that we're not all called to do everything. And sometimes the things that need to be done is someone else's opinion, right, about what needs to be done. So sometimes I do still when I shouldn't, but I'm getting better at that. The second thing is I limit social time due to my low social battery. I don't say sure anymore. Every time someone asks me to go for a walk, go for coffee, come over, I try to be social. I appreciate people's invitations. I really genuinely do. But I don't jump at it anymore without thinking. Like, I actually think, do I have the capacity to do this? Because it's not really fair for the other person to show up and be resentful, to show up and not really be there, right? And if someone's truly a friend or wants to get to know you, they would be, they would hate to think that you were just powering through, right? So another thing is limits with food and exercise. Now, I've always been about stress eating, and I still, when I get really stressed, I'm just like, I need to munch on something. I'm looking for something. But partly these limits have been enforced upon me by a diabetes diagnosis 2 years ago. So I have kind of been slacking off a bit, but I'm getting better at limiting the food that I eat, and I try to exercise in some way every day, and I give myself a day off about once a week to just not do anything, or maybe just go for a little walk, but I'm getting better at those limits, right? And that can be a really hard one, and I understand there's more to it than that, but the other one is social media. So YouTube, I'm on YouTube a little bit now. I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't really watch TV. I don't even enjoy movies that much, but I'm trying to watch movies once in a while, especially with, like, say, my husband or kids. If they want to watch a movie, I try to get into it, but I'm just not as into movies anymore. I don't know what you think about that, but I'm setting limits on who I subscribe to. So in the past, before, I would have just subscribed to everyone who wanted me to ask to subscribe, and I would have had hundreds and hundreds of videos that I could never keep up on, never watch. And now I appreciate so many creators, but I limit myself to who I actually really like and really want to watch. And I know there's lots out there that I would love to subscribe to, and as I get to know about more people out there, I'm really enjoying kind of exploring the YouTube landscape and seeing other creators out there who just have so much to offer, so much to teach us. But yeah, I'm kind of limiting also the content I'll interact with. I don't watch a lot of news things. I don't go on, YouTube or Facebook or, Instagram rabbit trails, or descend into conspiracy theories, because they all do eventually. If you just keep going with the algorithm, it's going to go really far one way or the other, because that's just the way the world works. Like, people are attracted to more and more extremes, it seems like. So I did used to overshare somewhat on Facebook. I have been known, I have been known to do that now and then. And I realize that, more and more Facebook is it's kind of a no-go zone for me. I do share my blog there, and I keep up with a few people on there, but it's not a place I want to hang out. And a lot of that has to do with people just find out all kinds of things about you on there, without really, they're not really offering anything to the conversation. And so I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Facebook. It's really gone downhill. And now it's just basically ads, right? Ads and AI. I want to do a video on AI and how many people I know who are, I don't understand how they can't realize that certain things are AI and they're sharing these videos everywhere. There was one that was like a music video with Eminem and Lauren Daigle, I think. So like a Christian artist, and Eminem, the rapper, known for his, the air being blue around him as he speaks, right? And it was like a Christian music video. And everyone was commenting, oh, isn't it wonderful that Eminem is now a Christian? I've been praying for him for so long. And I was just like, he's not. This is AI. I need a break there. Somebody put that together with AI to make it look like Eminem was singing a Christian song. So that's the minefield of Facebook. So limiting myself there, I have to limit the time spent enjoying others' content so I can live my own full life. It is so much easier to just push play on a YouTube video, and I love listening to YouTube while I'm doing things around the house. So it's not like I'm just sitting there staring at it a lot of the time, but it's so much easier to get lost in, let someone else guide your thoughts or conversation. And sometimes that's great and it's a good break and you can learn a lot. But a lot of times we need to limit ourselves with that and say, that's enough for today. I'm going to put this away. I'm going to go outside, right? I'm going to, tackle a job that I need to do. And sometimes YouTube can be really helpful to get me through those jobs that I don't want to do, right? Because I can listen to something in the background and it helps me focus. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that? Limits with people who aren't safe. Oh dear, this video is going on too long. I'll wrap it up quick. Boundaries with people who aren't safe. Quite a long time ago, I did a video on how to recognize unsafe people, because I was recognizing some unsafe people in my life at the time, and I think I put that one on private. It was a terribly shot video, but I'd like to redo it sometime. Even family members, I've realized, recognizing behavior patterns that are destructive and will, sorry, I don't know why, I got a frog in my throat here, will eventually destroy me as well. So I tell myself no when I feel tempted to wade into their vortex of drama and self-destruction. And it is tempting sometimes, right? Especially when you think you could help, or you feel maybe God's wanting me to help in this situation. And learn to really try to be discerning and limit my exposure to unsafe people. And that has saved me a lot of heartache. And it's still a journey, it's still a lesson that I'm learning. I don't know about you, what do you think? Limits on self-indulgence. This is the last one. Pity parties. I uninvite myself to my own pity parties. Man, aren't pity parties just like the best though? You just feel sorry for yourself and kind of spiral into this like, woe is me. We can have legitimate problems, but man, that is a place I try to limit. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna feel sorry for myself. Maybe for a minute. That's about it. And anger. Sometimes I've overindulged in anger, and I know that is expressly taught against in scripture for a reason. So anger itself is not a sin, right? But overindulging in like angry responses, ranting. I mean, my last video was a rant, so oops. But like over expressing constant frustration and anger about legitimately frustrating situations it can get away from a person being me. And my husband, my poor dear husband, doesn't need his downtime to be filled with me ranting and raving about, all the frustrations in life. And conversely, he can get a little bit that way too. But, there's a time for everything under heaven. There's a time for sharing. There's a time maybe for frustrating venting. But if that's like a pattern, I don't want to just be spraying the negativity all around me wherever I go. There's a time to share and a time to be quiet. And I want to create peace in my environment and space. And yeah. What do you think about boundaries? Boundaries with yourself. Why are boundaries so difficult to create with our own selves, right? To say no. Let me know what you think. And thanks for being here. Hit like if you feel like it. And yeah, here's to learning new habits, no matter where we are in life, and setting limits where they need to be set. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.